afternoon and welcome to this another edition of the papers on Camdis television. Here we comment issues in the press, notably the newspapers that actually came out during the week, and we have a good number of them. But as usual, we have a topic to discuss for 30 minutes or so, and the topic that we have chosen today is Qatar 2022. Should double nationality be considered? Because we saw how our own Mbolo actually scored a goal against our national team of Cameroon, the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon, and Mbolo beating Cameroon. The question of double nationality is put again to question. Well, it's the papers. I am not alone. As usual, we have men of substance and caliber here in the studio with me. I'll begin with him. They call him Linus Otoko. Otoko, he is a journalist. We say, welcome, sir. How are you?
Thank you, Tabby Clarkson. Good afternoon to you. I'm fine. And the week 2 is closing in the best of manners. So we all hope to be up to the debate this afternoon.
We say thank you for coming, sitting beside you. He is from the CPT political party.
Thank you.
Ashan Paul. We say good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon, Tabi. Good afternoon to all the co-panelists as well, and good afternoon to all the viewers of Camdis television, especially also on Canal Sat. It's a very interesting topic, and we would like to be able to share and expand on that topic.
He is a journalist. He is equally the communication boss of one of the most popular party, the PAP party, which is a popular party, People's Action Party. Of course, we say good afternoon to you, Bana Elvis, and welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Tabi. Good afternoon to my co-panelists. Good afternoon to all viewers of CAM10. And I think it's a pleasure being here once again. And of course, we look up to the engagement.
Now we shall actually have the papers with the press review, what made the news during this week as what concerns the various newspapers. The press review after the jingle. We are beginning certainly with the Guardian Post. We are waiting to see all Cameroon Tribune. It depends on what Roland Seal, who is of course there working, will actually give us. Is the Guardian Post. In first outing Qatar World Cup, the Guardian Post says Cameroonian-born Mbolo crucifies the Lions. And we all saw the match, how Mbolo was a real threat to the Cameroonian defense. And then according to the Guardian Post, the personality of the week is Fai Yengo Francis. He who is the national coordinator of the NDDR centers that we do have across the country. And then how about this new twist in Kaskumba sex scandal, where the principal and his vice and some other teachers are being accused of having sex with students in a school. Can we continue? Mutation Suisse 1, Cameroun 0, dégonflé à bloc. Dominateur en premier mi-temps, les Lions indomptables ont plié les Chines en seconde manche après un but de Briel Mbolo. And we know that Mbolo, of course, actually, as I said earlier, was real, the man who actually made the difference in the match Swiss versus Cameroon. And then, of course, a tribute is equally paid by Valentin Simeon Zinga to one journalist who actually passed on, Christian Wange, que j'ai connu. Now, l'info a show Cameroon-Suisse, Mbolo. A way to say that is you who actually crucified us, crucifying your own brothers and sisters. Unique buteur face à l'équipe de son pays d'origine. Briel Mbolo est mangé dans toutes les sauces. Réaction en show de l'ambassadeur de Suisse au Cameroun. To have more, you can go to Info Show. As we continue, défaite. Les Lions peuvent mieux faire. les lions peuvent mieux faire its emergence. That is certainly asking that question. It's not a question, it's a confirmation that the Lions can do better. But we know that we have two powerful contenders or opponents who come up, Serbia and Brazil. It will not be an easy knock to actually crack. And of course, after emergence, we continue. L'économie is talking about the 2023 state budget. Le Cameroun table sur un budget de 6 345,1 milliards de francs CFA. C'est ce qui ressort du projet de loi des finances déposé hier, 24 novembre 2002, à l'Assemblée nationale. We are talking a state budget for 2023. Eco News, quotidien Eco News, equally is talking about the state budget, 6,345.1 billion francs CFA. The state budget deposit yesterday at the National Assembly. We are talking the budget of 2023. Can we continue? We talk again. Still the budget for 2023, Cameroun Tribune, projet du budget 2023. Le projet de loi de finances a été déposé à l'Assemblée hier. L'enveloppe en augmentation de près de 265 milliards de francs par rapport à l'exercice en cours. And of course, we shall have to know why the increase in terms of the budget according to 2022. We continue. And according to l'Indépendant, ligne 65 et ligne 94, pris en partie par les élus du peuple, principalement Kabal Libé et Jean-Michel Nietzsche, au cours des questions orales aux membres du gouvernement pendant la session parlementaire en cours. Le ministre des Finances a apporté des explications convaincantes aux élus du peuple. Les révélations du ministre aux députés. We see that the lines 65 and 94, the minister of Finance, of course, Louis-Paul Moutaze, was actually asked to answer some questions by Nietzsche and, of course, Cabral, Libé. Les preuves talks of Sarmelema et Ebolova, la ministre Célestine Ketchakotes met en service les logements sociaux, suivant les hautes directives du président de la République, son Excellence Paul Biya, le ministre de l'Habitat et du Développement humain. Célestine Ketchakotes a effectué une mission d'inspection le 23 novembre 2022 sur les sites des logements sociaux de Meyo à Sarmelema et de Ngalan à Bolova. The Post newspaper talks of the Deep Seaport project after demarcation works. Limber Port Authority begins office, warehouse construction. And then, of course, the paper is equally talking about Kama Search to set tough entry conditions to promote professional journalism. Can we continue? L'essentiel talks of Bafang, le jubilé des diamants du roi sur les rails, with, of course, talking about performance. Attention is paid here on l'hôpital des districts de Nilong, au nord, le littoral. We continue. L'œil du Sahel of my friend Gitamba is talking of enseignement secondaire, la nomination des enseignants font débat. We know that the Minister of Secondary Education, the Prof. Nalova Lyonga, is true that appointments there are actually questionable nowadays, and questions are being posed on her choices. Well, Eco Santé, hôpital de référence de Sarmelema, according to Eco Santé, le professeur Audi Stéphane Bengono reçoit les félicitations du professeur Dominique Noir. Eco Santé, one of the health newspapers, is a daily equally. Can we continue? We talk of, it's true that it's le Républicain from this, and we cannot actually see, but then, le Cameroun et la RCA font le bilan alerte au blanchiment des capitaux. As, of course, we can equally say Bangolap Assemblée Générale courue de la Songsam and of course AIFA. Can we continue? Can we continue? The post again, we have seen this one already. I think those were the papers that we gathered for you this week. And it showed that some headlines actually caught the attention of our invitees. I'll begin with you, Linus Otoko. Which paper caught your attention?
Namely the paper L'Œil du Sahel. I'll go on L'Œil du Sahel that talks about the Minister of Secondary Education whose appointments has a lot of controversy because that's where the headline is going. I personally went through these appointments and I can tell you it's so disheartening that at the helm of administrations, some people were plebiscited as ministers. The list of things is to read the organigram, the Bible, the guide of the administration you manage before you can sit and appoint. It is so disheartening. I went through these appointments.
And what are the appointments saying?
This is the range in the administration called secondary education. You have the principal, you have the vice principal, and then you have the discipline master. Can you imagine that Madam Minister took her time and energy to appoint vice principals, discipline masters? Is that an appointment? I'm giving you the range from the head to the bottom.
Yeah.
You have the principal, you have the vice principal, and you have the discipline masters.
Yeah.
But she appointed vice principals, discipline masters, and it is called a promotion. Can you imagine?
But she has to appoint who?
The
has the powers
the
to
discipline master rises to the post of vice principal and not the other way around. We don't climb the ladder of public administration from top to bottom. It's from bottom to top.
So she appointed somebody.
Vice principals, because there are about 9 of them. She appointed discipline master, vice principals, discipline masters. So she took somebody
vice
from
principal yesterday.
Yes.
And she appointed
You are discipline master today and it is called a promotion. It's also funny. The list of things is to read. We beg some of our...
She's not reading?
No, I have...
She's a professor.
I repeat.
Yes.
That Madame Nalova Lyonga Pauline Egbe is not a professor. She is a doctor. There are 2 ways to rise.
Even when you are a doctor,
there are 2 ways to rise to the level of professorship, Mr. Tabi Clacton.
Yeah.
1, you pass the examination of CAMES. I did not see her name there.
Her name is not.
2, you have 22 publications. You write and you publish. I did not read 22 publications with her name. Except if she was given that professorship honoris causa. Except that. But she is a doctor. And I can tell you her thesis was on English phonology. I am a graduate of University of Boya. Our common name there is UB number. And my neighbor will not doubt it. Will you? We are all graduates of Boya. She is a doctor. Let's stop that politicizing post. Administration has a ladder. We either climb or we stay on the bottom.
Let's allow the title of
I
Madam.
am now telling you that somebody doing that kind of mistake does not read the little thing before you can decide even to manage Camdis TV. You decided to talk with the PDG, take the list, the rule of laws of where you will sit. And now you know that there is a director of information who has a deputy, who has this, who has that, and who are under me. You cannot take a director of information and say, okay, you become chief of desk. Everybody will shout foul. Because the laws of where you sit do not provide that it be done so. So the list of things is to read that. And I can tell you, by virtue of that widely promoted mistake, people around her, because ministers have technical advisors, a secretary general, and she even has a secretary of state. I'm sorry for their reading. I'm so sorry for that.
What is your take on that, Jean-Paul?
I'm not an expert at the Ministry of Secondary Education, And I think if that be the case, as my co-panelist is, Mr. Okoro is saying, definitely it would be addressed in a formal manner, administrative manner. Now, I think maybe there should be an explanation as to the reasons why maybe she signed the nominations, but maybe she wasn't particularly involved in the actual
But they say before
procedure.
signing, you have to read now.
No, it's true.
There
she
is no
can,
signing.
I think when we sometimes, let's not accuse her of not being able to read. She can read perfectly, because I think if you have
No,
a
correction.
if you have a doctorate degree, you can
No, you can
No,
read.
you
point
can
of
read.
correction.
You can
I'm not
read.
saying that she does not know how to read.
Right.
I'm saying she did not read.
Read.
Why am I saying so?
Right.
This is how the process of appointment in public administration happens.
Functions, yes.
The minister will take the appointment document.
Right.
There is a document for appointments. And now she will write accordingly. Principals, we will go with names.
Right.
Vice principals, we will go with names. So when I take the name of a vice principal and put discipline master, I know I have done that. It is not done by accident. It is not a machine to say the machine had a crash and names went all around. No, there's no application for that.
So
It
you are
is
saying
written,
that
clearly written.
She did not take her
typed.
time. She did not take her time to.
Yes. And it can also betray the fact that a lot of mafia went behind the doors. A lot of mafia. And the mafia was not unknown to the head of the administration. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I could. With
the contribution of Amantina, that can we have Asha Paul?
I would hesitate to rush to a conclusive judgment. You know, I would hesitate to run to a conclusive judgment without a word from the proper administration or from an official in the proper administration saying something to that effect, because it could also be that it could be a nomination of sanctions. It could be interpreted in various
By
ways.
demoting you.
It could be a nomination of sanctions, and we are not sure. And so I think
Toke said that they say
Mr.
promotion.
Tabi Clarkson,
He-
as a public administrator,
Chito.
I can tell you, the law of public administration are not written by the Minister of Public Secondary
Yeah,
Education.
education.
They are written by the employer of the state of Cameroon. He is the Minister of Public Service and Administrative Reform. And he provides that there is no demotion in administration starting from point 1. The only demotion you hear, relevé de ses fonctions, good. No, you have a problem.
Sure.
You can start back from 0 because you were relevé. But you cannot be promoted to this and now you are promoted by going down the ladder. It sounds stupid.
no.
It sounds stupid.
But he's talking of sanctions.
You cannot sanction somebody by demoting him. The only way to sanction is you remove him from the post and you clearly leave him without post.
No, I think
Either appeler à d'autres fonctions without functions or relever de ses fonctions.
That is in public administration.
That is what public administration provides. Once I listen to that, I know that public servant has a problem.
Now,
Okay.
now that is what public administration, and that is what in
So
terms
there
of
is no that administration called secondary education. That's what I mean.
So wait, let's also share. Because you're very passionate. You're very passionate about it, but I also think that we are not officials of the Ministry of Secondary Education to be able to respond formally and accreditedly to what particularly happened. I'm just saying that we can look at it twofold. We can look at it twofold in the sense that it could be a sanction. It could be a promotion. Now, maybe the law in terms of administration does not provide them to be able to sanction people appropriately because we are in the current school year. And within the current school year, I think if you don't even have enough staff, it will be very disadvantageous to you to let go of people, as you are rightly
Okay,
saying.
Linus Otoko, before we take Elvis Baden, I would like to ask you this question. For example, if you are a principal in Lycée Moulikou, and then you are sent here at Lycée Leclerc as vice principal, is that a promotion?
It's not a promotion.
It is what?
It is even a scandal. We don't climb, I repeat my statement.
Yeah.
We do not climb the ladder of administration by going down.
Yeah.
We
Sure.
climb by going up.
Sure.
You are a principal, you are at the top of public administration, school administration. You should not come down.
But
Except if you have done a mistake. And when you have done a mistake, you will not be appointed vice principal.
Yeah.
You will be relevé de ses fonctions. Clearly. They relieve from your duties. If you
That's
have
the-
been listening to appointments at the level of the ministry, one of the best ministries of education who does that is basic. It is not even secondary. That is why you see it in the press. Because even journalists say, but wonderful. We have never heard that in the world, especially in this Cameroon. At the level of basic education, once you hear a headmaster in a scandal, you will see an appointment note relieved from his duties. Then you know that you come down from zero.
So it's
you can start
a blow
back.
to Nalova.
Yes, no, it's a very bad blow.
Okay. Can we have the opinion of Bane? Bane, tell us, you equally followed Linus Otoko, certainly this information concerning the appointments in the Ministry of Secondary Education.
Well, I was simply not want to belabor what he has said already, because I think he said it all. And I think he even added something which is pertinent, and it takes me back to the CONAC report that was released of recent, indicting education as one of the sectors where we have untold corruption in this country. He said it very clearly. We may need to even go back to find out why some people needed to be demoted in the name of promotion. So I think he said it all, and I understand the position of Mr. Anchan here, from where he comes from, in trying to defend such a situation. Like Mr. Otoko said, and I agree with him perfectly, you cannot be promoted by being demoted from where you were initially. Now, on the contrary, I would prefer to go back to the papers, and I'd rather talk about the Minister of Finance when in his outing.
No, we are coming to that. I will also ask you the paper that that actually caught your attention.
Yes.
But I'd like us to discuss again on this issue
Okay.
of Nalova Lyonga. You are saying that is unacceptable.
But Mr. Tabi, I think it is clear. You cannot call something a promotion when you are demoting someone from where he initially was. If you take a classroom teacher and you are elevating him to the rank of a DM, you are promoting. But to take maybe a principal or a vice and you are taking him back to the post of a DM and you call it a promotion, I don't understand how you can be promoting someone by taking him some steps back where he initially passed before getting to his current
no explanation for that?
Well,
maybe it's a sanction as a...
No.
You cannot sanction somebody like that?
I do not think it is a sanction. I think it simply goes back to what CONAC says, that when it comes to education in Cameroon, it is one of those ministries where we have corruption, and so maybe we should need to go back to find out exactly what might have transpired at the background. And you know, at one point in time in Cameroon, we have people who are placed in offices where at certain points in time, we even get the impression that they spend time sometimes trying to rather set scores too. You see, those are some of the things we may need to go and investigate and find out, because you cannot be sanctioning someone. If you need to sanction someone without maybe touching his office, maybe give him a different sanction, but he maintains his office. But if you are to take him from one step up backward, then automatically you cannot term it a promotion. You cannot be sanctioning someone by promoting that person and he's moving a step back.
Yes,
I think I don't want to give a definite, because we are not from that administration. Also, when you are in a position, you have certain Article 2s. So maybe in sanctioning someone, you are removing the Article 2s that headed to corruption. Let's be honest about it, because I think if you're a vice principal, maybe you had certain functions that allowed you to do certain transactions or certain powers. But if you're a discipline master, you no longer have the powers to be able to do that.
The question therefore
now,
is, do we call it a promotion? That's where the problem now comes in. Do we still call it a promotion when you are in from vice principal to DM or from principal to vice? How therefore do you term it a promotion? That is where the problem lies.
Which is a very technical issue, and that's why I said, in my personal opinion, I think...
You are not from that administration.
I'm not from that administration, so I wouldn't know. But looking at it administratively, knowing that the law doesn't permit necessarily to be able to remove that civil servant from that position, because there's a need, and you have to be able to train, and you have to be able to also affect someone to that region. I think maybe it's a fine line. You cannot interpret it. It looks like a sanction, an administrative sanction, whereas removing the people from certain positions and certain powers which they had to be able to reduce their access to certain administrative authorities or obligations which they had, which maybe say there are some files that will prove or give more evidence to the fact as to the reasons why that minister or that ministry will go so far as to take someone from a vice principal and demote them to a
and call it a promotion.
Okay, Linus Otoko. Are all lycées equal? If is the lycée of Kwakwa and the lycée of Mulundu or the lycée de Claire that we have here in Yaoundé, are all lycées equal?
Tabi Clarkson, I'll answer you clearly. Okay.
Yeah, yes.
It has nothing to do with the size of the school. We are talking law here. The law that guides every public administration, the presidency of the republic, included is called the organigram. And in the organigram, the Ministry of Public Service, for each ministry, Presidency of the Republic included, has produced what we call a cartography de post. You cannot come from this to this. You cannot go from this to this. And I'm telling you that if I should print that document and give you, even for secondary education, there is a big problem.
I cannot.
It is clearly written. Whether you are from Kwakwa or you are from Lycée Leclerc, you have a principal. You have a vice or vice principals, and you have discipline masters. That is the ladder. 1, 2, and 3. You cannot come from 2 down to 3 and you are promoted. If you want to talk law, to go in practical, what does Article 2 for every appointment states? The appointee shall be entitled to advantages provided for by the law. Tell me, what's the advantage when you come down from 1 to 3? What's the advantage? There is none. You are losing the privilege of standing at the helm of a school, like Lycée Leclerc, like Lycée de Kwakwa. You are the decision maker. So I remove you everything.
The size does not matter.
The size does not matter. So I remove you everything, including, we are in the context of decentralization. Budget of that school, you have to manage. I remove you everything. I put you under the decision of somebody. And I read, the appointee shall be entitled to advantages.
What can explain this?
Is it not the mockery?
Is corruption?
It is simply a mafia. And a mafia beyond compare. The name must have come in the name for X position. I don't want to add the envelope because Konak has already told us there are envelopes. I'm not the one talking. It's Konak. But now, once I'm the one taking, I'll collect and collect and collect. And in the 9 minutes, those names will appear somewhere. I start writing anyhow, edifying. The names have appeared, but did they appear the way they were supposed to appear? That is where the problem is. Okay. That's why I cut it short here by saying it simply betrays a mafia behind us.
So there is mafia in the ministry
behind us. There is a mafia.
Of Nalova Lyonga. Yes.
No. If my fellow,
but that is what Otoko is saying.
No, if my co-parents is saying that there's a mafia, then I think it has to be brought to the attention of the minister and the attention of the prime minister. If there's a mafia that allow that at the reading of the nomination, because if that's what you're alluding to, that maybe the name that was proposed, but the name that was read was different. That's something.
No, I'm not talking of the name.
Because that's mafia, right?
The way the appointments appear, the press have started bringing it up. But let me tell you, before Loïc Gisahel brought this headline, in groups, including the circum of the Ministry of Higher Education, there were eyebrows high up, underlining those names. How can somebody come up from X to Y and they say that from X to Y is a promotion instead of from Y to X?
Let's be honest.
Everybody was asking the question. No. I mean, those forums.
No, okay. Let's be honest. In administration, you cannot have an eternal position. Let's just be honest about it. You cannot have an eternal position. You cannot have an eternal position.
But the list is for you to climb
or you cannot go up and descend. You cannot go up and down.
If you have to go up and out,
no,
or you remain where you are.
Let's be trying to move forward in the way that we look at things, so that in the future generations, people can also understand that this is not a dictatorship, administrative dictatorship, where you climb and then you go out. No, you can climb and you might not be the good fit, and you might be able to come down for another fit to fit in. That could be called an administrative adjustment.
Can you cite me the name
which means
of any minister who has been appointed director?
Because a minister. Wait. Because a minister. Let's finish.
The name of somebody who was minister.
A minister who has been appointed director.
And that's a very good question, because a minister is a political appointment. A director is a technical appointment. Now, you cannot take a technical appointment and compare it to a political appointment. You understand? Because if you are nominated a member of government, you are nominated a member of government based on your political alliance. If the PAP
not necessarily.
Wait. Let me finish. If the PAP comes to power, you understand, it will only be natural that certain key positions in government are held by the PAP. Now, it might not be that that particular person in the PAP is a technical administrator in that particular ministry. Now, the director who would be in that ministry would have a certain number of years in that particular ministry, but the minister who is appointed there will take over the political decision for that.
Directors are technical appointments,
and members of government are political appointments.
Even at the level of technical, can you give me the name of a director who has been appointed chief of service?
I can
just give me any name.
I can give you,
even in the past.
Because we're not here for defamation. We're not here for defamation.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that somebody could have been appointed a divisional officer, and from the effects of the bad leadership which he had in that particular area, in that particular division, is brought back to the ministry. He's brought back to the ministry.
The bureau.
Yes, I'm sitting there.
It has never happened.
No, but maybe you don't know.
It has never happened.
No, I'm not saying it happens as the
ministry,
He's
not
brought back,
bureau.
but
Mr.
to the ministry.
You don't need to overgo belaboring this far because he says he is just speculating something, but without any evidence on it.
Okay.
He said it could have happened.
Okay.
But he has nothing to say with respect to that. Yes, Mr. Tabi.
Yes. So we cannot go up and come down.
That is the simple truth, Mr. Tabi. And I keep insisting on the fact that...
Are you saying it's a dictatorship,
you will not borrow me words.
Are you saying it's a dictatorship in administration?
It's not a matter of dictatorship, but it's a matter of what? It's a matter of poor governance. No. We are saying that there is nothing like the word promotion when you are descending the ladder. That is what my dear brother here, Mr. Anchan, doesn't want to agree.
No, I'm saying that the minister
you cannot talk about promotion when someone is descending the ladder. Mr. Tabi. That's what we are saying, and that's what I want Mr. Anchan to understand. Yes. Whether you call it dictatorship or what, if it is dictatorship, it is still dictatorship within the system that you are trying so hard to whitewash. Are we together? And we are saying here that when we talk about political appointments and technical appointments and all whatnot, what we are saying here is that between you and I, we cannot work in an institution where you are the head, then tomorrow they bring you under me, and then they said you have been promoted, and you who gave me instructions yesterday, you now need to take them from me, and they call you an appointment. That is why we are saying, Mr. Anchan, and I'm repeating again, like Mr. Otoko said here again, that the problem is that word appointment or promotion.
There is a problem.
Yes, a problem at that level.
No, we agree on one fact.
Administrative law is the law.
Wait.
The law is hard, but it remains the law.
Even though it's two against one, even though it's two against one, let's be accurate on one thing. The issue here where we are saying is that is it a promotion or is it a sanction? We don't know, and that comes to the minister or that ministry official to be able to actually make the call defense. But what I'm saying is technically that could happen in the sense that during a school year where you don't want to let go, and maybe due to the files that they have on that person or those persons who were treating those files, maybe they were not competent enough. It is normal, because even in private sector it can happen. If I am the director of a company and I see that my accountant is not transparent, it is normal that I can take him and put him back as an assistant. Now it is up to him as an assistant to say, I no longer want to work. But if I still find that you are effective in my services, but not effective as an accountant, I can put you as an assistant in something else that I would prefer, where you will no longer manage certain responsibilities. I'm saying it could be that in the Ministry of Secondary Education, these people, because if you are a vice principal, let's be honest, technically, you have more administrative leverage and certain power than a discipline master. So if you are removed from a vice principal to a discipline master, it means that you no longer have that Article 2.
It's not promotion.
No, the determination of the word for
appointment not had Article 2.
The determination of it now is what is reserved for that minister or that ministry. No, it's left for the ministry to be able to come and tell everybody at Mondo Vision whether or not, based on the fact, on the decision which they made, it looks like a promotion, but reality is a sanction. Okay. It's for them to determine to us, or whether or not there was mafia, as
we are concluded on this.
The point I'm trying to make here is simple. The organigram, which is the guide of every public structure, is administrative law. It is the law. Said legs, dura legs. The law is hard, but it remains the law. Let them apply that law. Simple. That's what they do.
Let them apply the law.
The law is made to evolve. The law is made to evolve. The law is made to evolve.
And you do not apply it at an individual
level. Let them apply the law. We are very
good. Do you accept that laws can be evolved?
Please
listen. Listen. Let me answer that question.
That's an administrative law.
You do not. That's not. No, listen. You do not sit as an individual in your office and you first of all start implementing before it becomes a law.
Something in your mind.
No, listen. That is something done by the minister of secondary education. And that's what I'm saying, that if it has to evolve, let it first of all go through legislation. and then it is made known to everyone that now, from now henceforth, it now applies this way. You don't just see as an individual and you apply something in your ministry as an individual, and you think that the law is evolving.
Sure
that is a subjective decision taken by an individual, and I do not think that that's how things are supposed to work.
Are you sure that you have all the details to be able to confirm that they are not maneuvers to
Paul will say thank you. We shall allow the Ministry of Security to breathe with Minister Nalova. We want to believe that the prof is watching us at this moment, and we know that she's a prof. We know that she's a prof. We want to believe that the prof is watching us at this particular moment, and that certainly she will right the wrongs if there are wrongs there. Well, Banner, which paper caught your attention?
Yes, I was saying initially, Mr. Tabi, that I got more interested with the Minister of Finance's outing, Minister Mutaze. And what I simply wanted to point out here is that I saw on the caption there, they say he brought out some maybe tangible relevations and how and all. Yeah, but I want to let us.
Is which newspaper?
Well, I can't record the name.
They talk of Mutaze. Quotidien Économie.
Non, c'est l'Indépendant.
L'Indépendant.
Anyway, what I was trying
one of the two papers talking about the minister.
Line 94
line 94 and 65.
Good.
Yeah,
Yes.
L'Indépendant.
What I wanted to point out is this. When you listen attentively to what the minister said, at one point in time, he was not quite coherent in all what he said. At a certain point in time, he was not talking for everybody. At a certain point in time, he was talking for the government and all one. And at one point in time, you even hear him asking or telling members of parliament they should come and ask for theirs, and it will be given to them. To me, when I listen to that statement, it tells me it's like it is a line of budget where there is enough corruption too taking place at that level. And so when people come and they start asking pertinent questions, they tell you, also come and ask for yours, so that they may give and you keep quiet rather than asking the questions you are asking. Remember that we are talking about a budget since 2010, and we are in 2022. That's about 12 years. You cannot justify why in 12 years the minister cannot, maybe per year, because this is a budget that is allocated every year for previewed projects.
Good.
Why don't they at the end of every year publish a list of companies and individuals who benefited from this line of budget to tell us we financed this project, we financed it, these were the beneficiaries, and these were the outcomes of the different projects that were financed. We are talking about over 1,800 billion that has been spent within a period of about 12 years. But officially, we cannot have a tangible, a coherent list of projects that have been financed through this particular line of budget. And secondly, even the few projects that were announced, that were initially financed by this same financial source, the truth is that they are nowhere to be found tangibly. For instance, we know that at one point in time they talked about the promotion of cassava, transformation of cassava into flour in this country. They talked about there was a fishing something, I think, to do with Honorable Joshua Osi, if I'm not mistaken. In fact, there were a number of projects, but the question is, how beneficial have these projects been to the common Cameroonian that you and I are?
There's not been any
because at the end of the day, they announced a certain project was financed, but they never come back to tell you, okay, this is at what level we are today, and this is what this project has been able to bring back to Cameroonians in terms of profit or whatever thing. This will tell you that what we are with a regime where they keep creating openings and avenues where people find it easy to embezzle. And that's why there is no accountability in all what they do. Because in a transparent regime and system, we would have expected, like I say, if they have allocated 50 billion for 2023, at the end of 2023, they should tell us that out of this 2023, these were the surprise projects that came up. This is the amount that was spent out of the 50 billion that was allocated. This is the amount that is left. This is what was spent, and this is how far we have gone with the follow-up of such projects. But those are the things we never get back. It comes back to the issue of ministers always going to the National Assembly to defend their budgets at the beginning of a budgetary year. But you will never see them going back to the same assembly to tell us that, okay, you gave me 50 billion for this year, I spent this amount, either there was a deficit or there was a balance. Those are things that are totally lacking in this country.
Okay.
And we say it is just in a reflection of the type of regime and system
we have heard you.
And when Konat talks about 44 billion that was lost, I'm afraid that such amounts were not taken into account in that their 44 billion. I'm afraid that Konat's report, if we go back into it again, we may even have figures that are far beyond the 44 billion that Konat even announced.
No follow-up, no accountability. That is what Banner Elvis of the PAP is saying. What are you saying, you, of the CPTM party?
line 65 and line 95 and 94.
65 and 94.
Line 65 and line 94. There are actually, it's not lodged in the Ministry of Finance. Every ministry has that in their budget line for the unexpected. Now, as far as the transparency, it behooves every ministry to be able to give that transparency report. Now, there's a controller in every ministry. There's a controller that comes from the Ministry of Finance that's supposed to be able to work with the controllers or the account executive, which means the director of financial and management resources at each ministry, to be able to work together. Now, they don't work under the same. For example, if you are the director of financial resources in a ministry, you're not from the Ministry of Finance. There's a controller that comes from the Ministry of Finance that's associated with that ministry. So in terms of that, I think the Minister of Finance was trying to clarify that those lines are not lodged within the Ministry of Finance, but rather the Ministry of Finance waits for the reports that emanate from these ministries to be able to do the transparency report on it. Now, as for the PAP asking for more transparency on that, I think the Minister for Finance himself might be better placed to be able to address the transparency or the accountability on those reports. Because let's be honest, the budget goes to a ministry, the ministry spends the budget. Now, it's not the Ministry of Finance that spends the budget, but the Ministry of Finance is the one that executes the payment on this budget. So now, it's a budget year which we have. Every member of government will come and defend the budget which is allocated to them. The Ministry of Finance is not going to say no, but the Ministry of Finance is going to say, for this budget which is coming out from your ministry, for this expense which you are going to spend, give proof, whether it could be a procès verbal, whether it could be otherwise. So I think what the PAP is saying, it is not general. The Minister of Finance was trying to allude to the fact that I explained that there are a lot of assertions that are out there, but he would not be able to explain conveniently at this particular point in time. But the ministries, they work in accord with the ministries to be able to do that. So I think in that particular regard, and there are some, of course, when it comes to state budget, of course, we all want transparency. No one is going to come here and say that we should not have transparency on accountability. That is wrong. The CONAC report in itself says that there are some loopholes. No one is going to come here and say that there are no loopholes. But it is important that we clarify that situation so that the people do not believe that the Minister of Finance is holding
even
money.
The CPT people are out for transparency.
No, everybody
is out for transparency
It's
and
not the Minister of
accountability.
Finance that's
Before we
holding
take
the
a line also, Toko, a reaction just for a minute.
Thank you, Mr. Tabi. I am happy that Mr. Anchan says something important. The Ministry of Finance executes the budget. Right? The question therefore is, when you are the person executing, in other words, it's like you are financing someone for a particular purpose. Do you need to wait 12 years after? When you finance that person year in, year out, do you need to wait for 12 years after for people to come and ask you questions before you start trying to justify what might have happened or might have not happened? Is it not your place year in, year out to go towards that person to ask for a balance sheet for what you have? Because if I give you my 10,000 francs, Mr. Tabi, to buy me these papers, at the end of the day, I need to come back to you. I gave you a 10,000 francs. Did you buy the papers? How many did you buy? At how much? What is the balance? How far have you gone? If it was a business, how profitable is the business and at what level are you in the investment? I don't just keep giving you the 10,000 francs day in, day out, and I keep quiet until someone else comes asking questions and I'm trying to justify that it is not my ministry that spends the money or executes. That is the problem that I say we are facing in this country with a regime that knows nothing about transparency. And why will they never open up? Because it is a means for them to see. Remember, we talk about things, we are talking about corruption here, and it goes back even to Article 66 of the Constitution. Since 1996 to today.
We have seen the government fighting corruption.
No. There is no fight against corruption in Cameroon because there are so many institutions that are put in place, but which are powerless. Institutions like CONAC, for instance, who at the end of the day must bring out the report and then they turn back to one man, Mr. Biapo, to wait until he gives a final decision before something could be done or not done. Yes. That is not an institution that fights corruption.
Yes, let's remain technical before you're going political and accusing the head of state. What we are saying here is there's a controller from the Ministry of Finance. That controller from the Ministry of Finance is associated to a ministry, but he doesn't work within that ministry. So he is the one that asks for those particular proofs before any money is disbursed.
After 12 years.
Wait, no. This happens every year. This happens if you're in a ministry and you're the director of finance, when you are going to ask for money that emanates from your budget, Now, this budget is for your ministry. It's not the Ministry of Finance that has to subject your budget and hold your budget. It's not a dictatorship, it's decentralization. So when you come to ask for your budget or you come to ask for your payment, you need payments, you need proofs. The controller is the one that verifies to see that, do you have this payment? Do you have this? The controller is not an administrative court judge to be able to tell you, I stopped this and then, because it would stop the procedures in every ministry. Now, it's for the ministry to come and defend in a transparent manner in front of the parliamentarians, in front of government, that this money that was allocated to me and given to me, I spent it such and such and such and such and such. Now, that is when, after that procedure, whether it's the criminal court or whether it's the other institutions, can now investigate that even though you gave these procedures, even though you gave these proofs, we can verify that it was not actually used, it was not executed. That's what technically we are trying to say.
And
everybody
that is
wants
the accountability that we therefore do not have in this
Linus,
country. That's what I'm saying.
Linus Otoko, what is
The common man has the right to know.
Linus Otoko is a point of view.
I followed my co-panelists on this issue, but I'm a little bit surprised with what I'm hearing. I'll shock most of you. Before I start, let us all in this studio know one thing. Apart from the head of state, the Minister of Finance is the only member of government who has the power to engage the state of Cameroon in financial writing. Line 65 is managed by the Minister of Finance. Totally. Okay? I say totally.
Overall.
I repeat my statement.
Overall.
Let's take me clearly. Line 65 is even a budget chapter. It's not even a line. It's a chapter. It is totally managed by the Minister of Finance. Chapter 94, whose title in budget is expenditures and unexpected from the state of Cameroon.
That's normal.
Is managed by the Minister of the Economy, Planning and Regional Development. Why is it on the head of Minister Mutaze? Because for the past 10 years, he has been Minister of the Economy. Line 94, chapter 94. And then he came into finance, chapter 65. You remember some time ago, there was a scandal of mission days at the General Directorate of Budget, where some agents were accused of having eaten more than 100 days of mission per year. One was identified having eaten 800 days mission
in 1
for
year.
1 year. Okay? He was paid in chapter 65.
800 days
800
of
days
missions
in 1 year.
in 1 year.
He was paid in chapter 65. Why? The Minister of Finance has control of that budget chapter. And so all expenditures, let me learn.
Yeah, land. Nobody holds you.
All
Land.
those budget chapters, all those budget expenditures are taken in the unexpected. That is why his close friends, I'm not here to mention names, had budget grants. Even those who had nothing to do with the state, who were in business, had budget grants, financial grants from chapter 65. I don't want to mention names here.
Yeah, we don't call
We
names.
will not mention names.
We don't
The
call
others whom we had, and that was the first list that was published when the investigation was launched, were those of chapter 94, the Ministry of the Economy.
Okay.
All of us, we know that.
Okay, yes.
Let's clarify, because you are giving a general perspective of it. Now, every ministry has a budget, and there's an unexpected.
There is not.
Wait. Let me finish.
In the
There
budget
is
of
not.
the ministry.
Let me finish.
There is not. If you want, I can go further.
Yes.
I
If-
work.
if- Linus,
I
if-
work
if
with
all
an.
of-
I
Linus.
work with an administration.
Linus, me myself, I studied finance, so I can give you more.
I
explanation.
work with an administration.
Linus.
You studied finance, but we are not with the state.
Wait.
I
Linus,
am with the
Linus,
state,
wait.
and I'm telling
Okay,
you,
Linus.
Wait.
public administrations don't have that
Linus,
chapter.
if you-
Okay.
There are just two.
Please,
Linus.
let us hear him also.
I'll even come at the level of the controls he mentioned.
Yeah, let us hear Ashan.
Linus, let's go basic. This is your budget for the year. It's 5,000. In this 5,000, you have projected that this will happen during the course of the year. Now, within this 5,000, you get an emergency based on your own ministry. It could be landfalls. It could people died somewhere. It was not allocated within the 5,000 in your ministry. Are you getting me? But it falls under an emergency for the state. You go back to be able to seek
I'll
funds to
read
be
you
able
a
to
document.
wait. Let's
If it
let
is
people
not what you want,
People are watching us, please.
I'll
So
read you a
people should,
document.
no, don't
Yeah.
confuse people so that people should understand. Your budget was 5,000.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
You understand? In this 5,000, you itemize what you need for the whole year. Now, within your ministry, there was an emergency. It could be landfalls, people died, something. It could be, for example, the Ministry of Transport where the plane crashed. Now, the amount of money which you itemize in your 5,000 for the emergency does not cover up that. Because as the state, you have to be able to take care of maybe, say, those who died, the families who died. You would go back to the Minister of Finance and the Ministry of Finance. And it is in that line 94, 965 that they can say, okay, let's see what we can do for you. So he is right in that particular assertion that he is the overall to be able to write and say that based on the circumstances that prevail here. But he works also with his controller who is associated with that ministry to say that we really think that they could be given this particular amount. It's not the ministry. The ministry would ask for a particular amount and can say that, look, we need 2,000. But the Ministry of Finance can say, wait, look, under this emergency, we cannot give you 2,000. We can give you 300.
There you are.
Now,
right.
in the transparency, which is what we are all asking for, we are saying that based on the expenditures which are made, be transparent. No one is saying the contrary. You understand? Now, Mr. Linus is saying that he believes that in the allocation of that 300 which was given under the control of the Ministry of Finance, he has proofs to be able to say that they were done not in the rightest, in the right moral magnitude and terms. Now, to be honest with you, as an administrator, I don't have those proofs. Because those particular type of assertions go to a criminal court. They go in front of a judge. They go in front of an accounting judge to be able to say that, was the procedure followed? Were the expenses done? Was the emergency
But man is
necessary?
posing a problem of accountability,
If
a
I
problem
can
of
come
follow-up,
in,
a problem of transparency.
If I can come
Because
in,
there's a
yes.
problem of because
There-
that's why I want people to understand. The account is lodged in the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Economy. And that's why it's Economy and Development. And in the Ministry of Finance, which means they pay. But it is the technical ministry which comes and says, I have an emergency. Based on my budget, I cannot cover. I need your help.
That's exactly, there you are right.
Yes.
But there is a point you don't mention.
Which point?
No ministry requires money for private businessmen, which is given. We know those
No,
grants.
that's why I said
That is
that-
where we had the problem. I don't want to mention names there. Leave,
Yes.
leave
No,
that page.
no,
we
no,
know
no,
that what he's explaining is, I would say, the orthodox means that brought about those two budget chapters. It was unexpected of the state.
Right.
But now, the other part of it which came into creating what we call today economic champions, which is mentioned, it's not
true.
a mistake.
Because governments do that.
It is mentioned in the master plan of industrialization of the Republic of Cameroon that the state has to put in money and financial backing to private operators and create the economic champions that will pull an economy above. It is provided for. It is normal.
Sure.
But now, nothing tells the city minister to go calling his friends and make them budget champions. Nothing. Nothing. And that is where the scandal came in. But now I'll tell the representative of PAP here that there are controls. And the controls appear at a level which is not seen by all. I'll give you
So there's a follow-up.
There is a follow-up. Now, let me give you an image. You will realize in this budget, 6,345 billion requested, that some ministries have budget drop.
If they did not use the budget.
That's the case of the Ministry of Mines for the past 3 years. We have been having budget drop. At the level of, we call them pre-budget conferences at the Ministry of the Economy and the Ministry of Finance later on. They will tell you, you came in last year here and you presented 15 projects. Can you tell us how did you manage the money? You finish explaining. And now they will take the book of the budget you are requesting for 2023. And when they flap it, they still see some of those projects you did not finance when you took budget last year. They say, okay, Mr. Man, that's very good, eh? But you said you used 4 billion for this project, and this is the year again. It means you took the 4 billion but did not finance. Okay, in your budget of next year, we start by minus 4 billion. And so you realize that last year you had 7 billion. This year your total budget is just 3 billion.
Because there's still money left.
Good. No,
there's
not
money
that there's
left.
It's a
money
double
left.
project.
You use that money for the wrong purpose. And so you have no money for next year.
So there's a control.
There is a control.
Yeah, I have
There
something.
is a control.
Yes, Bane.
Mr. Otoko,
Yes.
I agree with you. There may be controls, and that's why there are drops in budgets.
That is
but
why
now the
there are
question
drops.
that I ask is, does the common man that I am in the street have a right
No.
to know exactly how those budgets are used? Because those are things that do not actually come back to us, the common people. And then secondly, like you say, when there is a drop because it is noticed somewhere, you asked for 7 billion last year and ended up bringing back again this year a project that was already financed the previous year.
Supposed to have been financed.
So the question therefore is, why do the same ministers keep maintaining their offices without telling us where that budget went to? Because the irony is that the projects that you asked for and were financed were not executed, but the budgets are nowhere to be found. So where therefore has the money gone to, and why is the minister still sitting there? Even if there is a drop in his new budget,
right,
what therefore is the problem now? Because that is where
Can I try to answer your question?
you can go ahead.
I can try. This is where the problem is. When that commission, because it's a combined commission, and they don't sit at the same time. You see, around June, September, they call you at the Ministry of the Economy, you explain. They give 2 more months. If your lies, lies is fabricated. You will not repeat the same lies in 2 months' time. You'll be called in finance and ask the same questions. My friend, they will compare the report. When they are finished comparing the report, they don't keep it. They send it to the head of state. Why are those ministers keeping their post? They are keeping their post because the man who has the report has not yet sat and decided to make his own paper. Just like the class prefect does
the president has his time, man.
Good. Just like
the time is the president.
Just like the
And
class
that is just where we therefore have a problem.
Please, the time of the president is the time of
Just
the
like the
president.
class prefect does his list of noisemakers. Will he ask your time? No. He will make his list. And in due time, when he produces the final list, you realize that you are not there. You understand that your reports have been negative. That is how it happens.
So there is a control.
There is a control. And that you realize that once somebody is removed as minister, if he had that problem, the Special Criminal Court calls you on the basis of what? Of those reports. Yes. They start questioning you on the basis of those reports. Oh, you decided to finance this project and you took 2 billion. Where is the money? I financed the project. Can you bring proofs? What tells them about the project that you took money to finance? Your reports.
Your report.
That is what happens. It's simply because we don't publish it.
We are concluding on this.
That many see the government as not working.
We are concluding on this. Yes, Ashapo.
No,
The government is working.
I'm very happy Mr. Linus has expanded and brought tonight the fact that the government is working. So my friend from the PAP can actually see, and as we have rightly said, the criminal court, transparency, the government is working.
No, Mr.
The government is working.
No. I will.
Maybe we the common people.
No, you can't see it.
We can't
but
see
with
it.
behind
People
us,
are working behind the scenes.
And that's why I said that please do not hastily judge the CPDM party. Do not hastily judge the head of state. Please just wait.
The report will come in due time.
And you realize they might be slow, but they are advancing.
No. We cannot talk about things being slow and advancing for 40 years, Mr. Tabi. We cannot talk about the government.
We shall open another debate.
I am answering. I'm on the same topic, right? I am on the same topic. What I'm simply saying here is we cannot talk about a government working when Mr. Tabi, as manager of Campton, has a budget for something he was supposed to do and never did it, and the proprietor here thinks that Tabi can still be there for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and that a time shall come. We are talking about a state, and because of projects that were not, let me just say the issue of roads, for instance, because there were roads that you were to construct and you didn't. Many Cameroonians lose their lives on those roads, and the same minister maintains his office, and they think that there will be a time when the final decision maker will decide as to whether that minister should be caught. I say no.
Is that what you are saying?
We should learn to do things in such a way that by the listen, please. By the time someone fails in his mission and office, new blood should be brought in, and that previous person called to book, so that it sends an alert to the new person that when you are put in an office, you are called to serve the people, and you should work to the best interest of the common man and the state. You should not give the impression that you can keep failing, and you maintain the office because there is one man somewhere who will take all his time to be able to decide as to whether you will answer or not to that.
We have heard you.
He's taking a subjective
Yes,
tangent,
yes.
extreme subjective
It's
tangent.
now become a political issue.
It's a political issue.
Yeah.
No,
What I said,
we
you
all
obviously
want, we
present.
all want transparency, my brother. You are not the only one.
Which
We
is
all
not
want,
there.
even the head of
Let
state.
there be transparency.
Wait, please. Let's not go extreme with the.
It's not a matter of going extreme, my brother.
We all want
Please
the
allow-
transparency.
please allow him to talk.
We all want the transparency.
Yes.
You included, us ourselves included, and I think that's why there are certain people who have been locked up already. So let's not act as if
That's equally fighting corruption.
Let's
Mr.
not
Bada.
act
By
as
arresting
if
people.
And
let's
some
not
of
act as
those
if
monies they embezzled have been coming in. It has
I
been
like
coming
Sotoko.
in. Yes, because we saw the former Minister of Water and Energy Resources
Who
in
reimbursed.
prison and so on, but many did not see the part where he reimbursed. It's over 2 billion.
Where
In
is
the
it
coffers
lodged
of
and
the Special Criminal Court.
who manages that account where it is lodged? That's the question. Those are the-
It's the special court that manages, and they produce a statement.
So should the common man know everything? That is one of the questions.
Not necessarily.
It's not important for the common man to
the
know.
right to withhold information at the level of public administration will not be used. If that right to withhold is there, it means the common man should not know everything.
Okay.
I'll even go the extra mile. Do you know there are
Even on
certain
matters of
there
accountability,
are, there are
the
even
common man
technical
is due
information
process. No.
that what I have at the ministry where I work that even my parents do not know. Did you know that? That's the right to withhold.
Even your wife does
My
not
own wife does.
Even your
but
wife does not know.
She does not know.
Yeah.
She's not supposed to know.
Yes.
That is the right to withhold.
Do you share that opinion that there are certain things that
I think issues of the state are there's a lot of security and sovereignty that goes with issues of the state because, of course, you go through a school, you go through a management, you go through training, and so these are delicate files. These are not files. That's why I think it's against the law if it's a state file or state document. I mean, it's out in public. The
Flaunt
person who
like that
issues,
in Facebook,
the person
no,
who
there's a
issues the
problem.
file out can be held accountable for that. So
You
I
can
think
go up
there's
to 11 years detention
so there's some
just for
separate-
posting the document on Facebook.
So those are very
a
critical.
public document,
Yes.
a confidential and public document,
Yes.
a confidential.
You will see a letter
document.
like a letter by the Secretary General of the Presidency with the stamp confidential. If it is traced that what the machine that put it on Facebook is your phone, you can go for 11 years.
That's what the law says.
Yes, worse still, if you're a state civil servant, it is worst. So it should even be the truck pusher.
But we have seen such documents in social media.
It is simply
of recent,
it is simply because in Cameroon, at a certain level, we have put a brake at the level of hitting the hammer. Once we take that hammer back from the coffer, I can tell you, offices will be empty. Many will leave. They will not tell you to park. You enter and you start parking your things alone. Nobody will tell you to park.
We are concluding. We are concluding on this.
Thank you, Mr. Tabi.
Just 1 minute.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What I'm saying here is the issue of confidentiality is not what we are arguing here. We are not. I'm not against that point.
Principle.
But what I'm saying here is that when we talk about misappropriation,
Of funds.
mismanagement of public funds,
Yeah.
I don't see why there should be confidentiality in coming to tell Cameroonians that actually the 2 billion that Mr. Tabi misappropriated, we have been able to maybe retrieve 1 billion. This is the money, and perhaps Cameroonians should be told how the money will be used, because if you just tell me that people have reimbursed 2 billion and it becomes a confidential something, it gives room for the next people who are managing that coffer to eventually misappropriate the same funds,
Mr.
and
Bane,
it continues in
Mr.
that line.
Bane, Asham Board is
So
saying that
public things should remain public.
State issues are not managed like that. That is what he
No,
said.
listen, Mr. Tabi, what I'm saying here is this. My money cannot be misappropriated, retrieved from the person who misappropriated it, and it becomes confidential to the point where I should no longer have access to knowing that that money has been retrieved. That's what I'm saying. I am not disputing the fact that there are certain documents that are confidential and must remain that way when it comes to state issues.
Okay.
We are talking about misappropriation of public funds. They call it public. It means I have a right. And that's what we say our so-called leaders are supposed to be accountable to us, and that's why you see we keep insisting on the issue of what effective. I don't want to talk about effective decentralization, but I want to talk about what the PAP will talk about. What we should go for a federal system where people actually vote their leaders, and at the end of the day, they know they can hold you even through the ballot to give them an account of how you manage their affairs.
The PAP.
There's a due,
We are concluding, please,
just one
on this.
second, Just 1 second.
Yeah.
There's a due process in the release of information. It's not that the state doesn't want to inform people. I'll give you a good example so that we don't look at only Cameroon. Look at Donald Trump. Donald Trump left office, but they found state documents in his private residence. And because of that, he is being prosecuted.
It's injustice.
So there's a due process, because once you go in front of a criminal court, in front of a judge, it's a different process. It becomes a state case. It is not like a regular case where you go to. So now there's a due process in the way, and now there's a law that stipulates and that guides on how information is disseminated after a prosecution or after a case. It's not that once you are locked up and you come. So there's a due process in it, and now there's a time limit, normally between 5 to 10 years. So now that information will be public, but it does take time before it comes to the general public.
It has its own time. It will come certainly. It will be made public.
It will be made public.
Okay. Can we have our topic of the day? We still have some few minutes, 15 minutes or so. We are talking Qatar 2022, and of course, we are talking this issue of double nationality, given that we saw an Embolo
From Cameroon.
from Yaoundé, from Cameroon, actually scoring a goal against the indomitable Lions of Cameroon. You saw that match, Lions Otoko.
Yeah.
What is your take about this issue of double nationality? Should it be considered?
It should be considered, especially because African countries have a particular problem. I remember some time ago that problem was posed to President Biya during a visit in France, where the nationals there requested from the president that double nationality be validated in here. And this is what has been causing problems at all levels of our state. He could not come back. Some time ago, I saw a document of 2004 where he even tried to come in. And just like Mbappe, we know the politics in our sports. I don't want to mention what happened. And
What happened? What happened?
I don't want to mention what happened, but we know heavy amounts of money were required from him.
From Mbappe.
That is what drove Mbappe away from here. The father carried his son away. It's the same thing that drove Embolo away from here. Heavy amounts of money were required at the level of the federation to have him here. And so he left. But now we can see him elsewhere. And
now we are jealous.
And when he scored yesterday, I remember my brother told me, who is a sporter, he told me, look, if I were him, I'll even score again. To tell you, look, the money you required from me, this is the service I was to render you. And you know, some people learn the soft way and the hard way.
Can we say that the goal of Embolo is talking to Cameroonians?
Yes. It will make us learn the hard way. Because of his action yesterday, all of us were angry. Were you happier when you lose that match?
I
just one goal, his goal. At least
made the difference.
At least the lesson has sunk in our brain. The next time one of such knocks at our door, I think we will sit well to receive him.
And Jean-Paul?
Double nationality, I think, is something that is very welcome. I think, unfortunately, with some security crises that we have had, it has tainted the subject.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes I always like to give the example of once you support someone that has extreme violent tendencies or ambitions, you are going against the morality of the ecosystem and society of the people that live within him, who just want peace and just to go to work, education and a livelihood, not to belabor the point. So I think double nationality is good because I think it's very common in most families in Cameroon that you already have someone who is on the other side and they are doing well because they have gone into their careers. If they have and a lot of times too, let's be honest, if you ask certain Cameroonians if they can be able to travel based on the conditions provided them on another side, if they will be able to excel and they can excel, why not? Why wouldn't they take it? So I think it's an advantage, but I also do know that in terms of parliament, it has to, all the security questions that go around it, the morality, the impact, and because I think Cameroon will gain from it, definitely, so that way we are able to make sure that those who have the double nationality, when they come to Cameroon, can be able to use it properly, not use it in a way that could turn into a security incident. Because even in nations like France and other European nations, you have African nationals who have gotten to these foreign countries and have become extreme because maybe they could not acquaint themselves with the society there. Take, for example, the Nigerian young man who almost blew up a plane, you know, because of his religion, because of the fact he could not acquaint himself with the society. So I think that when Cameroonians travel also out of Cameroon, and Cameroonians are very jealous of their culture. Cameroonians are extremely jealous you can see that Cameroonians do not even think that Embolo is Swiss. they still think that he's Cameroonian, which is something that is amazing to me, because I think that this boy, his roots, his origins are from Cameroon, but he's a Swiss. You know, in the mindset, in his mentality, because I think once you're able to wear a jersey of another country and even sing the national anthem perfectly, then really...
So he's no longer a Cameroonian?
No, he's no longer a Cameroonian. He's a Swiss national.
That he's attached to his roots.
He's attached... No.
He visits Cameroon almost 3 times a year.
Yeah, no, I cannot...
Almost 3 times a year.
I cannot refuse that.
He's so attached to his roots.
So to me, honestly, the fundamental question in this double nationality is how do we use it to socio-cultural advantage, whether it be in sport, economy, or in the diaspora that invest. Because if you take it, I mean, the diaspora sends a lot of money to Cameroon.
Yeah.
But the question we always ask ourselves is economically, and people always say, you are sending me money, but you are not sending me money for a business. You are not sending me money to help with the project.
Just sending for food.
You are just sending. So that amount of money, those transactions, and I think is a lot of money in terms of foreign direct investment.
No, but there's a problem. It's not that much. The problem of investment in Cameroon is just like the problem of double nationality that has been tabled to Parliament. There's a problem of peak of investment. That's why you not see big companies coming in. There's a peak of an amount of money that when you come in with even at the level of BEAC law does not permit you to enter with that money.
And so
I remember some time ago when we had an audience with the U.S. Ambassador Christophe Lamora, he raised that issue. There are many companies that cannot come in here because of that peak.
Those conditions, because we're talking about, even though we're going into investment conditions, and I think it still goes with maybe if you have double nationality, what are some of the advantages that can be given to you to properly invest? Maybe if you are
at least to help you come back.
Maybe they should associate a Cameroonian from who doesn't have double nationality to be part of the investment. Some law, I mean, I think because it's true. For example, if you are a foreign national and you want to acquire land in Cameroon, it's very difficult.
It's impossible. It's impossible. You need a Cameroonian in front.
But most Cameroonians who have traveled and gone out of Cameroon
have acquired land.
Dream is maybe just to be able to build a house, maybe so that the other family members can stay in. You understand? So you could look at maybe as the case where it was giving of Bremen. So I think double nationality is advantageous, but the conditions which have to go with that law have to be proper, and the show is to expedite the law also.
Okay. You have the PAP, you also watched the match of the Indomitable Lions.
Exactly.
Yes. So tell us, when you saw Mbolo scoring for Cameroon, how did you actually feel that? You felt that how?
Well, I think like every other Cameroonian that loves football, and perhaps should I say loves our country, we all felt bad. You see, but to me personally, I don't have any problem with Mbolo. He simply did his job.
Yeah.
He played for his country.
Just like a soldier, he did his job.
He's no longer Cameroonian. Why? Because we rejected him. That's the simple truth about it. We rejected him. Today we are so jealous of what he did. I even see on social media people threatening him, his family. I say that's all, let me say nonsense or rubbish, because he did just what he was called to do in his newfound country. You see, and coming back to the question you asked, I would simply say that I think perhaps, like Mr. Otoko said, Cameroon has simply learned something the hard way, and we hope even that those involved who are supposed to take the
some lessons don't even go through. That's why they hard way.
I hope that they have learned that lesson, and that when next actually we discover that we have certain talents out there, people with potentials, we will open up for them to come back, because there are many Cameroonians and they have been crying for decades. You see, who really want to come back and invest. We understand under what circumstances some of them pick up foreign nationality, because it permits them to get access to certain good jobs and all that. But they want to come back, like you said. Mbolo loves his country and will be here at least 3 times, because though he's Swiss, the roots are still there and he feels very much attached to them. Cameroon. But unfortunately, we do not give room to these people. So the question at times we could begin to ask is, those we have in place as leaders, what is their fear in opening up for our brothers who are there to come? And be careful that if you take the case of Mbolo yesterday, don't be surprised why he was.
We have many Mbolos in other fields, sir.
No, I mean saying here, don't be surprised that why he was even playing there. We may have people in Cameroon who had the same national and were clamming for Swiss too. That may not be actually being said here, you see. But now we want to see just his case that is so glaring. And the one thing I would like to rectify, Mr. Anchan said so much respect anyway, we should consider security threats. But we should not hang on that, because we know the regime will hang on the fact that when we open up, people will come with it. No, the issue of security, I understand where he's driving to. But these are things that are somehow coming up just in the recent years, because the government has been so close up, and at one point in time, it is because of the love that people have for their fatherland that they try to now devise other strategies to even want to implement force to be able to come back into their country.
Okay.
You see? So what I'm saying here is that the regime in place should not only focalize on the fact that if we open up, it will give room for some people with extremist ideas to come in, but we should also look at the majority of them who are genuine in their intentions to want to come in. There are many Embolos out there who have tried to come back.
Embolo is talking to us.
He spoke to all of us, but the question is, shall we listen? Have we gotten the message? That's what the problem lies.
I think the message is clear that those in power are listening. They saw it yesterday. They saw Embolo winning. Cameroon winning Onana.
And there might have been many of Embolos here clapping for Swiss.
We have many of Embolos. But I would like to say something. There is a newspaper that caught my attention. I think it should be the Guardian Post, where we are talking about the principal of Kaskumba.
The sex scandal.
The sex scandal. You are a teacher, Bane. I'll begin with you. Because you are a teacher. You of the PAP. When you hear such a thing, you in your school, can that happen? Sex scandal, teachers, principals going out with students? Is that normal?
Mr. Tabi, that's a difficult question when you ask me if it can happen. But let me answer you. It is possible that it happens because those who manage schools are humans. Those who manage schools are humans, the temptations are there. But the problem now is that what I would rather say is that at the head of the school, like in any other institution, we need to have people who can cultivate a certain degree of morality to be able to run away at times from some of these temptations and all whatnot.
So there are many temptations?
No, of course, the temptations are there. No,
listen. The word sounds funny for me.
No,
Why?
Listen, Mr. Choko, let me learn. Mr. Tabi said something. I am talking here now as a teacher.
Yeah.
Are we together? Let me tell you that maybe in the days we went to school, for instance, it was sometimes a scandal to even see a female student stand and discuss with a teacher.
What?
Are we together?
Yes.
Good. But nowadays, I will tell you that there are female students who boldly walk up to you and they outright in simple, clear terms tell you exactly what they expect of you. And that's why I say, if you are the head of such an institution and you are the frivolous type, if you cannot build a certain degree of morality to respect your personality and be able to maintain a certain authority between teacher-student relationship, you may find people with certain weaker spirits falling into that temptation.
But a principal?
That's why I'm saying, please, a principal is a man. That's why I insist on the fact that it needs to be somebody who can build up that personality, okay?
Considering what he's saying is even worse for the principal.
To try to keep the gap between him and the students, to let the children know that sometimes, let me put this other way, sometimes as a teacher, you make the environment friendly with students so that they feel convivial in the studies. But you must let the students know that though I may smile with you, there's a certain gap.
There's a limit.
There's a certain limit in everything. And that's why I say some people with weaker mindsets, with weaker spirits, may find themselves eventually going in for some of these things. So that's why when you say, can that be possible? I think it's possible. Because those who manage these institutions are human. But we would have loved that it should be a situation where people can be.
And we have news that the vice principal is in custody already.
Is
in police custody. Yes.
Yes. While considering the explanations of Mr. Paul and Mr. Bane, I have the feeling that it's really a temptation because it is worse for the principal and his vice. They have, offices.
Linus Otoko, yeah.
They have offices. So the girl will not just meet you in class like the teacher and talk. She will follow you in the office. So you need a certain level of grandeur in the mindset to keep in mind that it is true, is a student. Despite the changes on her body, she remains a child, just like the one you have at home. It is from that mindset you can maintain the gap. Once you start seeing that child differently, some of them really need psychiatric monitoring. For that one, I'm sure they need a psychiatric monitoring to keep that aspect in their mind.
The place of that teacher is in jail. The place of that principal
who
impregnated those students is in jail.
Yeah, he's in jail.
Are you saying that his place is there, that they should keep him there?
His place is normally in jail. Why? He did not impregnate just one child. We know the law in Africa at first, before we started having conventions and laws that changed our fundamental law. The law in Africa was that once a man has impregnated a child, he must marry the child. But now, he did not impregnate one, he impregnated many. Will he marry the whole school? You see the problem? He cannot go. And at the level from his action.
But in Africa, we can have many wives.
No, but from his action, it shows he has a mental problem.
It's a mental problem.
He has a mental problem. He does not see his learners as the learners they are.
They are.
So he needs a psychiatric monitoring to remind him to wake up that
So
aspect
if
in
such
his
a
brain.
vice principal is demoted to discipline master,
No, he can't.
No, permit me say something here.
Yes.
That is it counts, but good. That is a fault that you could even relieve him totally of his functions, because demoting from principal to vice or vice
It's even worse.
he's still in the same environment.
It's even worse.
It doesn't
Mr.
change
Tabi,
the fact that he will still
let me
access
go
to them
ahead.
and continue to do the same thing.
Demoting him from vice principal or principal to discipline master is
He may transfer
it's
aggression.
worse. It's worse. Let me explain.
Yes.
The discipline master is the only individual who intervenes in all the classes. It is,
He's closer to the children than
worse.
any other
It's even closer to the children than the principal. So the parents will just start crying. So it is better off to relieve him from his duties.
Okay, yes, Mr. Ashapo.
Let's be clear. The Minister of Secondary Education did not have this case when they did the appointment.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact.
This is speculation. This is speculation. Yeah, speculating. So people should not say that. Should go up and tell the minister that at this television we were saying no.
No. It's
this
just
is
a speculation.
This is speculation.
Yeah.
For me, it's actually it's terrible. It's regrettable. I'm thankful that Mr. Tabi, you are bringing this to light, because I think this has been happening, maybe say in other areas, but never brought to light.
Yeah.
Which means that if he's already principal and could have impregnated this many children,
many children.
which means that it's a prior habit.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and I don't know, maybe he who is a teacher will be able to expand more. Maybe there's a need for a procedure for background checks, whereas before you are hired as a teacher or before you are actually given a position, there's a need for a certain background checks on your morality and your behaviors if you have not had incidents where maybe students have complained, or other parents have complained, because I know that that's maybe something that's lacking, or maybe there's the fear of because who knows how long it took. Maybe this incident was going on for so long, but it's only until the students became pregnant.
Then it came to light.
Then it came to light. So what about the other schools where maybe the students are not yet pregnant?
Wow.
But this incident is happening. What are the measures that can be taken at the departmental level, at the local levels, to be able to...
It is a crime, banner.
Unfortunately, we cannot. Unfortunately,
It's punishable
we cannot
by
deny it.
law.
Unfortunately, it's a crime. It's punishable. You see, and like Mr. Anchan is just pointing out. When we talk about corruption, even I often sometimes like to say we should look at corruption beyond just financial and material exchanges. There is even psychological corruption.
Yeah.
The persons involved might have been corrupted elsewhere before getting to those positions, and now they extend it to the children too.
Transmissible marks.
So those are some of the type of things, and I think like the others have said, it's but normal that in certain situations, maybe such persons should be able to, their life should be investigated, or when certain people are to be appointed into certain offices, their life, they should be sort of what you call
enquête de moralité. They used to do it, but for police and gendarmes.
Assigned to in certain
They have to
positions.
bring it even to teachers.
Secondly, I think it also goes along with you're asking about maybe what should be done. One thing I could even suggest here too is that at certain points in time, certain persons should not be allowed to occupy particular offices for too long in the same environment too. Because at one point in time, familiarity becomes a problem too. You see, but now if you are somewhere and you can work 2-3 years, maybe maximum, and you are sent elsewhere, I think it also permits, because when you go, you need to start life afresh to readapt to that new environment, and
you
it
need to
changes
restart the
faces.
cycle.
So those are, I think, if we go into it in detail, there are so many that we could propose as solutions that, if done, it could help to curb. Then we have counselors too in schools who should play their role to vis-a-vis the children. You see, you need to go to class sometimes and talk with the children. They should know exactly who they are and why they are there.
Good. They are there
Because
to learn.
there's one
They are
thing,
there, but
there is one
sometimes they
thing
don't
I
do their
always
job.
sometimes like to point out, even when we sit with parents, that you have a school of maybe
Teachers-
1,000 children who come to school. They come from different homes, with different
Teachers,
backgrounds, with different
teachers
spirit,
should do.
and
Teachers should know that they have students,
Students should meet
not wives.
Yes.
Not wives.
Yeah.
Principals should know that they have students
Students who might be their children at home, not their
girlfriends
wives.
and so on. Place school, they say it's an environment to study. Not so,
Exactly.
Mr. Principal,
Exactly.
because I know that you are a principal of a school. It's true that I will. We have 5 minutes. We are concluding. We have 5 minutes. We are concluding. I will take again that our Qatar issue. We saw the match of the Indomitable Lions yesterday. In 1 minute, each speaker, can we dream? Can we say we can win the World Cup?
Well,
or we can play at least the semi-finals, given that we have played the quarterfinals before in 1990 when Roger Milla and Co. played the quarterfinals of the World Cup. We were beaten by England. This year we're in 2022. Can we play? Can we qualify for the finals and bring back home the trophy? Should we dream?
I think one newspaper said something that the Lions are down but not out.
Yeah.
As Cameroonian, as someone who loves football, as being a patriotic citizen, I think we cannot totally lose hope. Let's hope that we can win Serbia and then maybe do something against Brazil. But I must say that with yesterday's defeat, it becomes very, very complicated for Cameroonians. But at least we keep hoping. Exactly.
Hoping?
Oh, of course, we should hope, but also we should be realistic. So it's important to be realistic, and maybe they should have an adjustment of strategies. If what did not work, it should not be repeated. Try to adjust to see what they can do better. Maybe in the mindset, maybe in the environment of the whole, maybe the team. I don't know. I'm not a sports expert, but I know that if something is not working, you can make some adjustments to make it better.
Linus Otoko.
It is a time to look at their performance, because we don't create performance in a competition. This is a competition of 30 days a month. We can decide, we can look at it from another angle. They had a timid entry, because when I observed the results of the first day in all the groups, especially the Africans, Cameroon is the only team that lost the first match by 1 goal. Because Senegal lost by 2. And the others made a virgin score draw.
Ghana was beaten 3-2 by Portugal.
Good Ghana, we don't even mention because it was the worst.
But they played well. They scored 2 goals.
It was the worst entry. The Ghanaians prepared well for their game, but like I say, like the francophones will say, au niveau, ça se joue sur les détails.
Sur les détails. Can we say that we can dream?
We can dream.
We should keep on dreaming.
Provided the coach and the technical team of the Lions now rewatch their match of yesterday and identify 3 things.
Yeah.
1, we have an excellent midfield. Cameroon has an excellent midfield.
Yeah,
I mean my
2
word.
is what?
2, at the level of the attack line, we need players who can give long-term shots. And for the meantime, there's only 1.
It's who?
It's Choupo-Moting. There's only 1.
Yes. And then the third?
And the third, at the level of the defense, there's just one last thing we need to dot.
Is what?
Whenever the defenders go up, each defender that goes up, like we saw, that time the goal we consider Nkulu was up.
Is Kulu a problem to the team?
He's not a problem. Whenever the defenders go up, they should play the game of double role. When I go up, you cover me. That is what did not work at that material moment.
But some are saying that
Because
the absence of Michael.
Because the question I asked, and even my brother who is a coach asked, he told me, look at the second player, look at Mbolo who comes to score. Who is the one blocking him? There's
Okay.
no one. So we need
say thank you.
that coverage. And once we have it,
Thank
we
you,
can
gentlemen.
dream.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. We are all Cameroonians, and the wish that we have here is that we should bring back home this trophy. When there is life, or when there is hope, there is life. And when there is life, there is hope, because we have to dream. Keep up dreaming. That's after 1990, when we played the quarterfinals of the World Cup with this wonderful goal. I always remember that goal of Francois Omambi when Cameroon defeated Argentina of Diego Armando Maradona. Well, it's true that this year we have another generation of players, the Choupos and so on. But we want to believe that Cameroon can still make it, especially as impossible n'est pas Camerounais. Impossible is not a Cameroonian. It's on this note of hope that we say thank you for watching. Take another appointment same time next week, certainly with the qualification of the Indomitable Lions to the second round of the competition. Next opponent is Serbia. Well, stay tuned as programs continue on Camdis television. Right ahead is Tori Massa with Tori Dequat. Today we say bye-bye. May God continue to bless the Republic.